Hi everyone! In this demo, I'm going to show you what is the function delegate and how to use a function delegate in your program. First, let's open our project. Here is the basic program, and in this program we have a student class, and this student class has two properties. One is called ID. The type is int. Another is name, and the type is string. Also, in the main method, we declared a variable called test, and this variable references an instance of student, and the student ID is 0 and name is test. Also, we have a students variable, and this variable references a list of student. And as we see, here is a list of student instance. Okay, based on these data, let's start our programming. First, let's take a look. What is the function delegate? The function delegate looks like Func and followed by one or more type parameter. For example, we put student here at the first type parameter, and we put string here at the second type parameter. And we use this type to declare a new variable called Func1. Okay, let's put the focus on the delegate type and press F12. And now we see we jumped to the declaration of this delegate type. Here is the declaration of a type, a delegate type. Okay, where is the delegate type? This one. This one is the delegate type. And this is a generic type. And as we see, this generic type has two type parameters. And one is called T, another one is result. The Func is the abbreviation of the function. In the future, an instance of the function delegate will reference a method, and this method must have a return type, and this return type is just defined by the T result here. And also, this method will have one input parameter, and the type of the input parameter is defined by the T. As you may ask, how about my function has more than one input parameter? Okay, let's go to the internet and search Func delegate C#. This Func delegate is just the delegate we are seeing in our code. And the count of the input parameter can reach up to 16 here. Okay, let's go back to our code. Please always remember, the count of the type parameter is not equal to the count of input parameter of the function referenced by the instance of this Func delegate. That's because only the T and T1, T2, until T16 are the type of the input parameter of the function. And the last one, T result, is the return type of the referenced method. Okay, let's go back to code. As we see now, this Func delegate has two type parameters. The first one is student, and second one is string. That means if we create an instance of this Func type, and this instance can reference a method, and this method has one input parameter, and the type of the input parameter will be student, and the return type of the referenced method must be string. And so far, we don't have that method, so we have to declare that method first. Okay, let's put a semicolon here to make the code can be compiled. And then let's create that method. And static, okay, the return type must be string. And the method name, let's give the name get student info. And it must have one input parameter, and the type will be student. So we give a student stu at the input parameter. Okay, in the body, we generate a student information and return the information to the caller. So we say var info equals to string template. We give a id equals to the stu.id and give a space. Name is the stu.name. And then we return the info. Now the signature of the getStudentInfo method just meets the requirement of our Func delegate. Okay, now we can write equals to new Func and give the getStudentInfo here. Or we can leverage the syntax sugar of the C#, put the getStudentInfo here. They do the same thing. Now, the func1 variable just references an instance of our Func delegate type. And this instance just wraps a reference to our getStudentInfo. That means we can use the func1 variable to call our getStudentInfo method indirectly. So let's see. Var info0 equals to func1. The func1 need one student type input parameter. So give the test student to the function. And let's print the info0 and control F5 to run the application. Okay, no problem. ID 0, name test. Our student test, ID is 0, name is test. As we know, a lambda expression is an anonymous method. The getStudentInfo is a method has name. That means we can use an anonymous method to replace this named method. How to do that? We type func student string, same signature, and func2 equals to. Okay, when we create this lambda expression, and this lambda expression must match the signature of our delegate. So our delegate requires one student type input parameter, and the return type should be string. Okay, our lambda expression can be like this: s as the input parameter, and there should be a string returned from the body. Okay, let's set the body. Copy the body from our named method and change the stu to s. It's done. Here, we also can leverage the syntax sugar of C#. So let's try to simplify the code. We can cut the code to here. Now there's no compile problem. And also, if there is only one return statement, then we can write the code like we just remove a pair of curly brace and also remove the return. Just leave a expression here. Then we finished the creation of the lambda expression. Now let's test the func2 delegate. Remove these two lines. Var info 0 equals to func2, give the test student, and try to print info 0 and control F5. Okay, we get the same correct information. We won't just stop here. Let's go further. The next step, let's take a look how to use the function delegate as a parameter of a higher level method. Okay, let's declare a higher level method first. So this method should be static. And the name of the method we call select. Okay, the select method is also a generic method. It has two type parameters, one called tSource, another called tResult. Okay, the return type of the higher level method is IEnumerable tResult. And let's take a look at the parameter list of the higher level method. The higher level method has two parameters. The first one is a IEnumerable tSource. We call that source. The second parameter is the function delegate type. And the function delegate also has two type parameters. The first type parameter is tSource. The second type parameter is tResult. And the parameter name is Func. What that mean? That means in the future, the Func parameter will reference a named method or a lambda expression. And the named method or the lambda expression has one tSource type parameter. And whatever the logic of the named method or the lambda expression, the logic will return the value, and the type of that value is tResult. Okay, let's finish the logic of the higher level method. Let's var result equals to new list, give the tResult. As we see, the list implements the IEnumerable interface. So the list tResult just match the type IEnumerable tResult. Then we do a for each loop item in the source. And we can simply do this, result.add. So the result will add a instance of the tResult type. And how can we get the tResult type instance? So we just use our func parameter. Func, and if I give a instance of the tSource, and the func will return me a value in the tResult type. That's good. So I put the item into the func, and the func will return an instance of the tResult. Then I can put the instance of the tResult to the list. Finally, I will return the result from that code. Now let's try to call this higher level select method. Here we have the students variable, and this variable references a list of students. And we know the list of students is a collection of students. It matches the type IEnumerable student. Var infos 1 equals to, let's try the select. Okay, the select asks me for the first parameter. I give the students to the select, and the select method is asking me for the second parameter. So I have to give the select method either a named method or a anonymous method, or say a lambda expression. Let's give the lambda expression directly. I give a s and the logic of the lambda expression just here, and then replace the student stu as s. Then I'm done. So let's use a for each loop to iterate the infos. Info and infos 1. Info. Control F5. Perfect, no problem. From student 1 to student 4. Okay, shall we stop? No, let's go further. Now, let's leverage the knowledge we learned from the previous lessons and to convert this static method to an extension method and attach this extension method to the IEnumerable generic type. And then we can call the extension method directly on our collection object. Okay, the first step, we declare a static class, public static class called my extension, and we should copy this static method into the body of our static class and modify the method with public because we want to access this method from outside of this class. And then we modify the first parameter with this modifier, and then we converted this select method to an extension method, and this extension method is attached to the IEnumerable generic type. Okay, let's see how to call our extension method. Var infos2 equals to, as I said, we can call the select method on our collection object directly. Our collection object is just the students, and dot. Now we see the select method, and here we don't need to provide the first parameter because the extension method will take the caller at the first input parameter. We just need to provide the second parameter. The second parameter is a lambda expression. So lambda expression, you can copy this lambda expression. Copy and paste here. Okay, let's test the result. For var info in infos 2 and info. As we see, we still get the correct output. Behind the scene, our select extension method just did the same thing what the LINQ select operator does. Okay, let's take a look. So if we comment out our myExtension class and we see the select method doesn't exist and the compilation has some error. Now we just introduce the system.link namespace, and we see the select method comes back. And we press Ctrl F5. And it works in the same way. Okay, through this example, I hope you can understand the relationship between the function delegate and the extension method, no matter this extension method is created by ourselves or it comes from the LINQ library. See you next time.